So what's up? Just coming back to, I'm pretty sure you guys are tired of seeing a 6505 MH when there's all kinds of new shit out there. But in all honesty, I just wanted to kind of show you the power amp section and what kind of happens here. And power amp section with the red channel, and then I was messing with the EQ. I didn't really mess with the pre-amp gain, right? The pre-gain. That's pretty much my pre-gain settings for green channel on the left and red channel on the right. See? And then there's your tone stack, and then your rhythm and lead post gain stages, and then your resonance and presence. And so I was just kind of showing you where all you can go with this, right? So for like the first 5 minutes of the video, I was doodling, maybe the first 3 minutes, and then I kind of just started hanging out here and moving things around. And makes a big difference. Neck pickup. So yeah, this is the Gibson LPJ gold top, rubbed gold top with the conversion. What is it? The Burst Bucker Pro pickups in it. And on my previous, I think the last video I made for the little orange micro dark, this little bastard, some people were saying that, oh, all the Gibson pickups I've ever had suck dick, right? A lot of people were saying that. And that may well be true, But I really love these Burst Buckers because yesterday morning I was playing the same amp, same settings, same pedal, and I was using my EMG 5766s and same strings on a different exact Les Paul, right? And I really love the 5766s because they're there for you in terms of like the squeals and all that fun stuff. But like the problem with that is it's a very compressed signal, and so there's no articulate dynamics. I'm really tempted to buy a set of EMG passive pickups and see what's going on there. So, that's actually one of the quests that I've kind of been on, is find a decent, really nice set of quote-unquote PAF, EMG, HZ passive pickups. So if you guys happen to know which are the ones I should get for metal and for blues and, just really dynamic and articulate, let me know. See, I think the reason why a lot of people are saying that they don't like the Gibson pickups for metal is because, you got some players who play kind of lazily, like, then you got some players like Hetfield, who are like, and the pickups pick all that up, right? The pickups are picking all of that up. And the pickups are saying, okay, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, right? And so it sounds squashy and muddy, but then again, just dial back to the lows, right? So I really enjoy this amp, and I enjoy this amp specifically with these pickups, the Burst Buckers, the most. I also like this amp with the 5766s, and I also like this amp with just, regular DiMarzio pickups. I have some DiMarzios in my... and some Duncans, I got all the pickups. I got Bill Lawrence, I've got them all, right? 81s, I've got everything here, and I really like this amp. In 7-string mode, it's even badass. And I actually do pull back the bass, pull a little bit of the bass and some of the resonance out, just so it doesn't get too muddy. But for the speaker I have in there, this is running through an isolation cab that I built myself with Eminence Patriot Cannabis Rex, an MXL R40 ribbon mic, and then a SM57 in there, right, running straight to my Xenix board, which is a Behringer board. Probably could have a better board, but whatever. Straight into the camera, out of the camera headphones, right, microphone, all that stuff, and it sounds great. I really enjoy this setup a lot, and You know, I'll turn it on when I get home from work sometimes if I have that time, and I'll just go nuts for like 40 minutes, 30 minutes, and not really even play songs, just kind of just chug and grind, you know, and just groove, you know, groove a lot with the metal. And then I use the BigSky and the Strymon BigSky and the TC Electronic Alter Ego Vintage Echo in the loop. And right now I don't have anything in front of the amp. It's going guitar amp, right? And then in the loop, like I said, is that Vintage Echo and the BigSky. And so that's how I'm able to get the spacey out of this world shit, right? And yeah, running the NYXL pickups on this, strings on this guitar. I've actually kind of started to fall in love with the NYXL strings quite a bit. I'm going to switch guitars for the last 10 minutes of this video. We're going to play my my Ibanez, the red candy apple RG3XXV with the, I think it's an Air Norton, and then I don't know what's in the neck. I don't even know what the name of those pickups are. Sorry. So let me pull that guitar up. Anyways, so big fan of that fucking LPJ guitar with those Burstbucker pickups in it. And I know most people, you know, in the metal scene don't like those pickups, but I'm telling you, they are some of the most articulate pickups you can find out there. Incidentally, this guitar is an E flat, but the guitar I was just playing, that Gibson, was in C, drop C sharp, or drop C. Not bad. We're in tune. Great. Let me grab the camera. Microphone. Anyway, so, yeah, I mean, this fucking amp is amazing. Like I said, I know some of you guys are probably getting bored of me making the same video. This is like my favorite guitar, you know. This Ibanez RG3XXV. It's like the 565, the RG565, you know, with the reverse headstock. 25th anniversary fucking Ibanez guitars. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. If you can get your hands on one of these, just buy it, because it will be worth a lot of money one day. Also rocking NYXLs on this guitar, but they're a little bit older, so that's probably why they sound a little bit duller. This guitar likes a little bit more mid. Yeah, so, you know, this is the RG3XXV. Amazing guitar. I literally love it a lot. It's pretty much my go-to guitar. You know, a super strat, super duper strat, you know, and she likes to play everything and anything, you know, I mean. Just that neck, the unfinished neck on the back, that's worth the $700 I paid for this guitar and its sister, the blue one up there. These are the best necks in the world. This is the best neck in the world for me. For, you know, whatever reason, growing up in the 90s, you know, one of my main guitars for the longest time was an USA Ibanez Custom, one of those, you know, truss rodless guitars, a guitar that does not have a truss rod or some shit. I don't know what the story was in that. Like tension-free neck. I don't know what the fuck it was called, but it was like a 95 or a 96 or 90, you know, like 94 to 96, somewhere in there, the USA Ibanez Custom. You know, this is like the precursor to the Wizard necks and all that. I grew up with that, you know, and I grew up on Jackson. I had a Randy Rhoads that I played forever. A Randy Rhoads Jackson. And, you know, I feel so comfortable on these thin necks. Like, my economy of motion is so much more efficient, right? So much more efficient when I have a smaller neck than when I have a big old baseball bat. And so, like, that 2012 Gibson Les Paul Studio I have has a real thin neck to it. And it's also got that Granadilla fingerboard, right? So it's definitely got some very unique properties to it in terms of Les Pauls, as opposed to the LPJ, which has the ebony board and the really big 50s baseball status. But, you know, I do like that. I do like the big neck for lower end stuff, but when I'm trying to get around on the top and the middle section of the fingerboard, I definitely like a thinner neck, you know. So anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to show you the power amp section and how that worked at the very beginning of this video. And I've had questions, you know, how does the power amp, you know, how can I get balls? If I buy this $400 little amp that's got 20 watts, will it have balls? And yes, the answer is yes, it has lots of balls. And if it's got too much balls, you can take them out. The EQ is very dynamic, and the power amp section is very dynamic in terms of the resonance and presonance controls. These two controls right here are God mode on this amp. The resonance and presonance. You can definitely shape and sculpt your tone how you'd like it to be. The only way it could possibly be better is if it had memory banks with MIDI switchable, and if you could save channels like, you know, like eight banks, right? Where you can have setting 1, which is a rhythm, like, you know, straight clean mode, like this, you know what I mean? Then you just hit like up, and it goes to bank 2, which is something like this. So I'm talking about more than channel switching, right? I'm talking about like presets. Digitally stored presets where you could have like 8 bank or whatever, you know, 1 bank with 8 channels or 8 settings in there. And you can have all of your possible preamp settings where you can have more presence, less resonance, or more mids, less mids. That's the only way this amp could conceivably get any better, because like I was saying yesterday on Steve's live broadcast that he had, Old Pixie Licks, I believe that the Peavey 6505 MH is winning amp wars right now. Like, there are no guitar amps out there I see that are more feature packed, more quality driven, and more vintage, you know what I mean? Like iconic legacy sounding, you know, easy to dial up a tone, no rocket science. The 6505 MH is that amp. It's the best amp on the market. It's a shame that, you know, Marshall hasn't made. I asked that question too. What do you think about Marshall? Where are they going? I don't think Marshall's going anywhere until Marshall makes this amp, right? If they make a JVM like this, and that's what I was getting at just a few seconds ago, talking about MIDI switchable, programmable presets. That's what the JVM has, right? Is you can go to channel 1, 2, 3, and 4 and have everything set the way you want it, MIDI style. That's the only way that this Peavey amp could get any better. So if Marshall took this amp idea of a 20 watt, oh my God, JVM, charge $1,000, that's fine, you know, and have all the switch presets in there with the banks and all that, and you can set all your power amp section and all the gates. You know, if Marshall made this amp in a head as the Joe Satriani version with the gates on it, because to be perfectly honest, I got a $700 reverb. I don't need your onboard reverb. You know what I mean? All I need is an effects loop. And I've got a fucking $300 delay pedal. I don't need, you know, onboard effects. All I need is a really sculpted and sculptable pre-stage, power stage, tone stage, post stage, and, you know, power amp. You know, that's what I really need, and I need that out of Marshall. I'd like to have that out of Marshall. I think with the Astoria series, I think Marshall is just kind of gone to shit. I can't imagine anyone would buy an Astoria amp. And I foresee in the future that those Astoria amps are going to be all over fucking reverb.com and all over, you know, Guitar Center used. And nobody wants some shit like that. I mean, what everybody wants and what the market is demanding right now, listen to me, pay attention, is like a 5 to 20 watt head with all of the pre, post, mid, power sculpting abilities, no onboard effects. Give me an effects loop that's badass, tube driven, fully tube in, fully tube out, MIDI presets, and, you know, USB out. That's what the market is right now. That's where everybody is. All these people on YouTube and shit, only a handful of them are actually running like speakers and microphones and stuff like that. Most of these dumbasses are actually just running Torpedo, right? Most of these people are running Torpedo. Why? Because they don't need 100 watts, right? They don't need 100 watts. They're running Torpedo straight into their MacBook, right? So, you know, pay attention, guitar amp manufacturers out there. I'm just one guy, but I'm someone who looks at the prices of all the big competitors, looks at all the manufacturers and see what's coming out, right? Paying attention. I already know what you guys have out. I know that Marshall has a 20 watt combo for fucking Joe Satriani coming out very soon. I saw that. You know, I'm someone who watches and who knows more about this than the salesman. When my sales rep at Sweetwater calls me, it's like, hey, have you heard about this? You heard about that? You heard about that? And he's like, no, shit, I didn't even know that was going down. He could be lying, but I'm someone who watches that, right? And some of you are too. You know, some of you are watching all the interviews of these artists, and sometimes, like with Guthrie, whenever he was talking about switching to Charvel, right, from Sir, some of us knew that was coming before it happened, right, before it was announced. I'm one of those people who's watching, and I swear to God, if Marshall in the next 5 years does not make an amp like this, a 25 watt, 10 watt, 1 watt amp with all the bells and whistles that make the amp its iconic status, your company is going to shit. And you think that you're going to make things like Astoria. You know, how long has a JVM been out, dude? You know, it's probably time for a new iteration, like a JWM, you know what I mean? Or a JXM. Probably the new amp will probably be a JXM, I bet you. And it'll be like a hybrid between the JVM and like some Astoria bullshit, right? That's probably the next thing that they'll make, and it'll be 100 watts, and no one's going to fucking use it because it's got 100 watts. In order to run that goddamn amp in your studio, you're going to have a fucking a garage full of foam and a microphone. You know what I mean? You're going to have an isolation room instead of an isolation cab because it's going to be just fucking stupid. Or, no USB, right? I swear to God, that's what Marshall will make, is like a JXM Astoria fucking crossover with JVM bullshit on it. Basically piggybacking off JVM because they lack vision as a company now. Ever since the old man died, they have no fucking vision of what the hell they're doing, where the hell they're going, and how the fuck they even got there. And it's a shame because I have Marshall amps, and I've always had Marshall amps. When I was a kid, I used to lust. I'd see shit like this Peavey 6505, the 5150s, the 5153s. I'd see that Mesa bullshit coming out that all these fucking Seattle faggots are into, and I'd be like, oh, that fucking amp is bullshit. You know, the JCM 900, the JCM 800, that's where it's at. You know, Marshall was that legacy, and now Marshall's not even like ahead in the crowd. They're just like, you know, they have so much money to throw that they can get the big room, but nobody's actually buying anything. Nobody's actually like excited for the new fucking Marshall heads. You know what? We know the last time Marshall had excitement was when they had those little fucking 1 watts, those little 1 watt through the series, through the generations amps. And if Marshall had any fucking any fucking smarts, they ditch whoever the fuck is running their shit right now and hire someone who's watching NAMM and walking around and seeing these little fucking amps, and start making that kind of shit, right? You know, like little JCM 800s like this. Can you imagine? Or JCM 800s like this, or JVM 900s. Since they have no vision, right? Since they're probably not going to make a JXM, since JVM is probably the last best amp they'll ever make, right? Because they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. They might as well just continue the shit out of it, right? And be like Vox. Vox made the AC30, and then that was it. They never made an amp after that was worth, you know, oh my God, a new Vox, you know, because they made that one amp and that was it. Kind of like Gibson. They made the Les Paul, and it's like, okay, well, let's just stop here and let's just make Les Pauls for the next 500 years. You know, Marshall is probably going to do that with JVM, right? Because they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. And, you know, you'll see JVM reiterations into the next 20 years, which I'm okay with because that amp has everything you need in it until things change. And don't even get me started on the iPad revolution and the new Helix and the new fractal bullshit. You know, that's where the future is, right? People playing. If you want an amp, people don't want 200 watt amps. People want 20 watt amps with the bells and whistles. Or I'll just go fucking get on my iPad and buy a $20 app and never even open a guitar catalog ever again, right? So, you know, some of these companies have got their work cut out for them. And I can only wish that, you know, because I'm a guitar nerd and I love guitar music and I don't want to see this shit go away. You know, it is a buyer's market. There's so much used shit. If you ever go to like Guitar Center used section, there's so much used fucking gear out there, man. It's not even funny how much used gear. You can buy all of this shit for a third of the price it was originally. So, you know, it's like, why would I spend $2,500, $2,700 on a fucking Joe Satriani amp? You know, that's why Marshall's trying hard to get this 20 watt fucking Satch amp out. And hopefully it comes out in Winter NAMM this year, 2016. And hopefully it doesn't suck. And hopefully Marshall takes that and they do that with the rest of their amps, like the JVM little 20 watt fucking. But the thing is, I don't need a combo, dude. I've got an isolation cab. Or you know what? Better yet, just give me a USB out, right? Right? Give me a USB out. I don't even need fucking speakers. I can run torpedo. I can run impulse responses. I don't even need speakers. That's like where amps are today, is heads. And so these companies out there, just make heads. I don't want your Chinese speakers. I don't want your fucking bullshit Celestion speakers. You know, Celestion's another one of those shitty companies, you know. I have my own Ibanez speaker, which in my opinion is God mode. So pay attention out there, guys, and fucking get the buzz going so some of these companies get their shit together and figure out what the fuck they're doing, because I hate to see brands like Marshall and Fender not innovate, not do anything, and basically fall by the wayside, because the boutique amp generation is here, and now the mini watt amp generation is here and gone, and now the digital watt and generation is here. You know what I mean? So I'm someone who likes tube amps. I have many tube amps and I will always have tube amps, but you know, I have to tell myself, turn off the iPad. Don't fucking play through the iPad. Don't play through some modeling shit. You've got badass pedals and you got badass amps. Go play your shit. The only reason why I don't when I sit on the couch is because I can't take this amp in there. I could, but I don't want to, you know, and that's the answer, right? Is portability and future projectability, right? And that's where the computer aspect comes in with the USB out. You have to have a USB out because everybody these days is writing. Everybody these days has their own channel and their own produced tracks and their own shit. And consistency is the answer. And although the analog method of having speakers and all that is great, it's also quite cumbersome because you move the microphone in one direction and you got a whole different palette. Whereas if you had digital impulse responses, it's consistent every time you turn it on, it's there, right? That's why you have to have USB these days, because not everybody knows how to mic a cab or get a preamp setting going, or, you know, Not everybody has $5,000, $10,000 in preamps. You know, I don't even have that. I have a Behringer. I got a Behringer fucking mixer, and I got microphone 1 and 2, MXL ribbon mic and SM57 mic going into my goddamn board, right? And then the only reason why I use this is so I can run a fucking so I can have a mixer, old school mixer, and then have a microphone for my lapel mic that I'm using to talk to you. So, anyways, that's a little rant for you guys. I know it's been a long rant. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and share with your friends. You know, and talk. Let's talk about this, man. Let's talk about the future of amps in a real, you know, gloves off setting. I'm not gonna fucking delete your comments. If you think I'm a dumbass, go ahead and say it. I don't care. But you know, tell me what you think. Where are we going with amps? And you know, that's what I'm saying. This is the amp to beat, and I'm gonna keep making videos for this because this is the best amp out there. Until Marshall makes something better than this, you know, even fucking Eddie Van Halen's bullshit amp, it has the same idea, right? He's got his little EVH3 or some bullshit, and you know, four to $700, something like that. You know, $900 amp, and it's this same exact goddamn thing, except Peavey beat him to it. And I don't think that EVH has a microphone out like as an XLR out or a USB out. I'm highly doubt it. I'll take a look. But you tell me, man. This is the amp to beat. The orange stuff is fun, and the Marshall and the Fender stuff is great, but this is the amp to beat. I'm almost considering buying that vintage the other Peavey head, the little you know, Fendery looking one. I was thinking about buying that one, man, because I'm so in love with this amp. This is my amp, man. If the fucking building, if my apartment was burning, I would, you know, save my wife and my cats, and then run back in with my, you know, oil-filled flame retardant clothing and grab me my fucking PV head and grab me a couple of Gibsons, run back out. If I swear to God, I would save this amp out of everything I have here. This amp, even though it's, and the funny part about it is, it's replaceable. It's $499. I can buy another one right now, cash money, and it's not a big deal. I could have like 10 of them. You know, that's the thing about it. But with like those Marshalls, $2,500 goddamn Marshall, it's like, dude, you better run into the building to save that fucking amp, because that amp costs you a whole month's worth of goddamn pay. This amp cost me 1 week's worth of pay. Anyways, I'm gonna head out. You guys have a good one, and comment below. Let's talk.